this month you can get the fasting guide, the nutrition guide, and the No BS 6-pack formula for free. We're going to actually give you those for free. And by the way, we're in the process right now of revamping our nutrition guide. So once you get it for free, when it gets updated, you get updated for free also. That's for everybody who has it now and anybody who's going to get it in the future. So this is how you get those two things for free. You enroll in one of our two most popular bundles. We have the RGB bundle, which includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, MAPS Aesthetic for 9 months of exercise programming. Or you enroll in the MAPS Super Bundle, which has all those programs, plus MAPS Anywhere and Prime. So enroll in one of those two bundles. You get the nutrition guide, fasting guide, and the No BS 6-pack formula absolutely for free. You can find them all at mindpumpmedia.com.
Shirt time.
Oh, it's T-shirt time, motherfuckers.
Wow.
Hey.
They're aggressive.
Yes, Adam's very excited about this.
I am.
How many
He's
reviews?
been making a lot of
Everybody
shirts.
loves T-shirts.
How many reviews did we get, Doug?
We got 17 reviews.
Boom,
Giving
bang,
out,
boom.
Giving out 5 shirts.
That didn't sound right.
Boom, boom, bam, boom.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sound good to me.
Weird.
All right, so let me list these off. We got Higher Ed Inc., Prue Bear 0311,
Prue Bear.
Control Alt Delish,
Oh, that's clever.
Okay.
Ryhawk, and then someone 56245. All of you are winners.
Excellent.
Likes to remain anonymous.
I love all our people, dude. They're so clever.
Yeah.
So please send
Too
the name
clever.
I just read to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com. Include your shirt size, your shipping address, and we'll get that right out to you.
If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo.
Oh, here goes
Why do you always start
rapper
like that?
Adam Schaefer.
Yo, yo, yo. Hey,
DJ Jazzy Schaefer.
Mike. Did we talk about this on the podcast? My little situation I had
What?
with the Onnit girls when I was at Onnit Academy.
Yeah, we did.
What?
Yeah.
So
We mentioned it.
today on 94.9 this morning. They're talking about this, and it's a big fucking deal. And now it makes sense why that girl said that to me. Here I keep referring to her as a girl.
What's a big deal? I'm
to
remind
refer to a woman as a girl.
Oh,
There's this huge uproar about it that it's just so offensive. And you know what?
really? I haven't really heard much about
I'm
this.
sorry, but I think there's some famous people tweeting about it and all the.
What are they
feminists out
saying?
there,
Oh, God.
that it's disrespectful.
Oh, please.
And I think it's such bullshit, dude. I think it's one of those things that it depends on how you do it. Like if you do it in a manner that is like disrespectful, then of course, but you could say anything disrespectful if you change your tone or at what context it's in, right? So like I was telling them, I said, thanks girls. And that's what she said that to me. And she got and I was just right over my head why that girl was offended.
But you would say that if they were 70 years old. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it doesn't matter if they're 12 or they're 30, 50. That doesn't.
Oh my God! I just pulled up I just literally Googled what you said because I thought I'm literally thinking to myself,
This can't be
there's
true.
there's
This is
no
crazy.
way.
No, it's a big
like
deal.
this is stupid, right? Yeah. And there's articles like The Guardian wrote one. Stop calling women girls. It's either patronizing or sexually suggestive.
Oh my God.
You know what? So here's the thing.
Such bullshit.
Stop
dude.
being so offended.
No, you know what it is? Okay, the person who wrote this is the one that has the problem. The person who's saying it's sexually suggestive, they're the ones with the sick mind because I can say guy, girl, man, woman,
boy.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
No.
Why is that? What are you supposed to say, woman?
Yeah, that's what the.
Because I feel like that'd be more
Hey,
patronizing.
women's.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. This woman over here. That sounds almost more dickish
All
than
of my
Right.
women's.
Thank you, women.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
No, it's stupid. And here's the
What are you
thing.
supposed to say? Ladies? Girl, I don't get it.
Yeah, remember that girl said, ladies, goddesses, princess. Like she says, I'm like, to me, that's more condescending than fucking just saying, thanks, girls.
Oh my God, this article is, I just want to punch it. The word girls screams gender segregated toys and the color pink. You know what's funny about this?
Wow, dude.
So you know what's funny about this whole thing
Can
here?
we become any more fucking oversensitive?
What's happening?
It's not oversensitive. It's not that it's oversensitive. What it is it gives the person who says this, it gives them power. So if I say to you, hey, you can't say that because that's offensive or that's sexist, and if it's not, you're clearly not being sexist, but it gives me power now.
Right.
Because that's a very powerful thing
I've just
to say.
shut you down,
And what
sir.
what these fucking idiots don't realize is that what they're doing is they're trivializing a real thing. Like, sexism is a real thing. Being patronizing is a real thing. You know, being sexually suggestive or, you know, actually being a pervert, those are real things. But when you call everything that, you make the real act of those things trivial.
That's what's
you
bullshit.
trivialize
That's
them.
the part that pisses me off because, and that was what made me so upset when we were on it. When that, see, I keep wanting to say when that woman said that,
when that human being,
like that, when that woman said that to me, it just went right over my head because I actually was complimenting and thanking the girls that were actually making my.
Well, she wasn't even part of the conversation. She just came out of left field and was like, "Excuse me, sir."
Yeah, like whoa, like
whoa.
To the point. Remember where I said I had to go back and I had to go ask the girls if that was offensive to them, and it was like, no, not at all. And I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure because that wasn't meant to be condescending. I didn't think I came off that way. In fact, I was complimenting, you know. And so that's such bullshit for people.
This is it's. So what's happened?
Your insecurities are fucking glowing.
I'll tell you.
That.
I'll tell you 100% what's happened with this whole thing. So what people need to realize with politics, because this goes back to politics, is that politics in particular has a lot of money invested in the science of politics and how to divide people and get people to hate the other side and so that they vote for their side. And what people don't realize is they're being manipulated. Like we talk a lot about on this show in particular about the supplement industry, the fitness industry, and how manipulative they are with their marketing. Well, you can multiply that times 1 trillion, and that's politics.
Right.
Politics is way more powerful, has way more money, and way more science invested because politicians are the ones that run shit. Big business wants particular politicians in there because they get favors, they get taken care of. Like, there's a lot of fucking money and power in politics, and they invest a lot of money in figuring out how to get people to think and feel a certain way. And one of the most powerful things you can do in politics is to make someone hate the other side or hate other people. It's far easier to do that than it is to make them really like your side. This is a fact. Like, if you look at when there's a presidential election, for example, most of the money invested in it is not in making you like the side you want to vote for. It's in making you hate the other side.
Right.
And in fact, when you ask people, you know, if you tell people, God, both candidates suck, most people will be like, yeah, they do, but, you know, I'm voting for this person because they're not as bad as the other person. Like, they don't even realize they're being manipulated. And what's happened with politics rather recently is they've created they've really invested lots of money in what's called identity politics. And identity politics are, let's segregate people into smaller and smaller and smaller groups and make them feel more and more and more like victims. And it's hard to talk about this because there are real issues here that they're pulling upon, like racism, sexism, issues with homophobia or religious phobias. Those are real issues that exist, but it doesn't mean that these people won't take that and manipulate it and push it. And then when you try to argue it now, you're being labeled sexist, racist, or whatever, a phobic or whatever. So it's very hard to debate. But the reality is, these identity politics are seeped into culture to the point now where it becomes a contest to who's
bypasses intent. For some reason, we can't accept somebody when they say something to us and understand what their intent is when they're describing that to us.
Dude, so, it becomes offensive for you to tell someone.
I don't really care what word you say as long as the intent is pure.
But it becomes offensive to say Merry Christmas, for example.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Fuck off.
People know I'm not.
Offended
people know I'm not religious.
Yeah.
I don't have a horse in this race at all. I don't really give a shit. But if someone says to me,
Merry Christmas, you don't get offended,
or Happy Kwanzaa, or whatever, pick your thing, and they're happy and
so
nice
I
about it.
have to say like 5 million things to accept. Make sure I cover the bases.
Why am I going to get offended? By that. If now the term boy girl, we've been using that forever. Can it be used in a condescending way? Well,
sure.
fuck yeah. I can go to you and I can come up to you and be like, "You're just a boy."
It's all how you deliver it.
You could,
Of course.
you could use a term like "sir" and make it fucking inappropriate, right?
Exactly.
If you say it condescending, it can be just as bad. If it could be worse.
No, people they don't realize they're being manipulated. And what's happening is we are all fighting each other.
Fucking lemmings.
We're all trying to figure out who's offending who. You've got these like what I call these like what do they call these, like oppression Olympics, where
exactly.
Who's the most oppressed individual. If you're
this is why I like. Did you see the Dave Chappelle like stand up?
Yeah,
that's why I appreciated it so much, is because he just kind of went back as like, we're being crazy with all this kind of stuff. Like let's get back to like, let's not like, get so far out that we stray away from the real problems and these things that like, we've been like, people have been oppressed with a lot of these things, but let's not devalue it by just throwing it out there.
And let's be careful with the pendulum, because this is what happens with culture in modern culture, is that there'll be a problem, a real problem, and then they'll swing the pendulum so fucking hard to the opposite side that they've passed now where they should be, and then they cause another rebound. And it's this pendulum swinging effect that is damaging to everything from relationships to the wrong people get elected, given power. We end up making decisions that are that just don't.
Do you think it's possible to not do that?
I do.
You do?
I'll give you an example. Well, because we talk about this, like that they're saying it's bad to say girls. So this is on the topic of sexism. Let's talk about that for a second. Like, do people realize that the majority of suicides are done by men? A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't realize that obviously the majority of people killed in war is men. The majority of, believe it or not, a massive amount of rape actually happens to men. In prison is one of them. There's lots of issues that men go through, injuries or fatal injuries on the job, very high for men. Now, I'm not trying to create this picture of like, please, poor men, whatever.
But there's a case there.
But what happens is the pendulum swings so hard, and then we end up saying, well, fuck these issues, like fuck these people.
Well, no, that's a great example, because I've heard more people bring up the topic of the word girl being used than I have anyone even bringing up that how many men are actually getting raped in jail. Or committing suicide. I haven't seen any bloggers writing about that. I haven't seen anybody bring that up as a topic.
There is a suicide epidemic, in particular among men. Men are the ones that commit suicide at a far higher rate, and people don't. They don't want to talk about the dangerous jobs. Like most of the jobs that people do, where they get hurt, injured, or killed, are done by men. Now, again, I'm not doing a competition here. But when you take something that's real, like sexism, and you trivialize it by saying, don't use the word girl.
Right.
And they're not even using context. They're just saying the word girl.
Yeah.
Like, don't use girl in a condescending way. That's different. But don't just say the word girl. Like, let's eliminate that from the lexicon of American society because it's sexist. Well, you know what that does to real sexism? It trivializes it. Now everybody's like, well, fuck you. I'm not listening to anything you're going to say.
Yeah.
It becomes totally ineffective. So, yeah, if you're, just be careful, man, who's manipulating you with real things. Because if you're in a category of people where they can make you feel like you're being taken advantage of or victimized more than you may be actually experiencing, that is a powerful tool that they will use to manipulate you. And remember this, don't forget this, those people at the top, and by the way, the media is very much part of that whole process and system, 100%. You could go through and connect the dots. It's not hard to do and see that there's very few powerful people that control most of this media, which is why they're scared of the internet, by the way. If you look at this and you really pay attention, it's obvious they don't really give a shit about you. All they want to do is manipulate you.
Yeah.
And one of the easiest ways to manipulate you is to make you feel like everybody hates you. And
I'm just so over the victim role, dude. I'm so fucking tired of hearing the victim role. It drives me crazy. What happened to anybody? Like, what happened to you actually maybe looking inside and reflecting, like, why does that offend me?
Yeah.
Why does that bother me so much? Like, someone's referring to me as a
small
boy.
Thing.
What does that say? And if that actually does bother me, because I'm sure there's somebody listening right now who's like, oh my God, I can't believe they're saying that. Oh, I think that's so disrespectful when someone does that. Okay, how about this? Why does that make you feel that way? Mm-hmm. Why does a term like boy or girl, regardless, let's say it is condescending, like, how about looking at why that would make you feel that way and diving into that a little bit and looking at yourself.
Work on that.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Instead of like, blaming others. It's just the fucking first thing to do is
just get knee-jerk reactions about everything. Yeah.
It's not a word.
Calm down.
It's not a word that has roots in like for example, there's racial slurs that have bad roots, and I can understand those things. There's words that have roots that are very condescending, sexist, racist, whatever. But the word girl is not one of them.
Or boy.
Neither one of them.
They're the same. So you can put them together.
No,
boy or girl.
No, they're not. I mean, when you have a baby, people ask you, is it a boy or girl? I mean, it's just not one of those words. So stop trying to make it one.
I feel like it'd be a compliment. Someone call me a boy. I still look like a boy. I feel fucking great. That's awesome.
I'm like Peter Pan.
I'm fucking 35 years old.
And you just offended someone.
Right?
Because they're like, being a boy is a fucking good thing. What if somebody said,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good liberal voice that you just threw out.
I don't know. That's just an idiot voice. Trust me, they're on both sides. But I just
I know.
Anyway, I just it's funny because I think if people just realized how much more we had in common than we didn't, and how much power we had if we just realized that it's more effective for us to not try to separate ourselves so harshly and collectivize people and just kind of be like, okay, we're cool, whatever.
Yeah,
you
let's
said
just
what you
be
said.
cool, man.
Yeah,
you know,
and
like if I'm talking to you, I just want to talk to you. I don't want to worry about all these fucking words and shit. Like, my intent and where I'm coming from. I'm not here to to throw stink in your day. I'm just trying to talk to you. Stop being so offended.
Exactly.
Doug, bring on the woman bird.
Today's Quah is being brought to you by Chimera Coffee. It's the only coffee that is infused with all natural nootropics for a cleaner, calmer, and more focused buzz without the crash. Click the Chimera link at mindpumpmedia.com and input the discount code MINDPUMP at checkout for 10% off.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
The eagle has landed.
All right, boys. First question.
Oh, that was so offensive.
Oh! First up is from Casey Joe Eats Well. You guys are always preaching we shouldn't run ourselves into the ground. So why the insanity in MAPS aesthetic phase 3?
So
this is a good.
It gets a little intense.
It's an Easter egg. We put it in there to see if you guys would notice.
Yeah, this is a good question, and this is also. This is why we do recommend the order of the programs. Mm-hmm. So this is now somebody who possibly just dove into MAPS Black. They've never done any of the previous programs. They've listened to the show,
and they don't really work out that much.
Yeah, and they don't work that much. And then they get into phase 3 of Black. They're like, holy shit! Like, but if you've actually gone through red, green, then black, it's actually from red to green. There's already some serious progressive overload.
Try phase 4.
Yeah,
green.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yikes.
each program we intensify as we go through it, and we increase the volume. So there's actually but it's slow and gradual. That's over a course of 9 months. And then if you notice that a phase like that is only 3 weeks long, so we would never recommend somebody stay in that high of intensity for a long duration. And so, yes, absolutely, it's in there. Absolutely, it was intended to be intense, but it's also only intended for you to do that for 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're peaking.
I think it's important. We got to be clear. Too much intensity is very individual. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we preach about not running yourself in the ground, that can look really different from one person to the next. Like if I take a high level, physique competitor and they've been training for a long time, what's going to be too much for them is going to look very different than if I take somebody who's hasn't worked out for a while, or if I take an athlete versus a couch potato, or if I take somebody who's been working out super intense for a long period of time and their body now is starting to hit the red line. Too much intensity might be not that much for someone else. So it's very, very individual. MAPS aesthetic, like all of our programs, was created with a specific intent of adaptation. Aesthetic was created for here's what we do when we create our programs. We try to create, before we create the program, we create this what is it called when you're playing a video game and then that's your character? Avatar. We create an avatar in our mind of who's the person we're designing this program for. The avatar for MAPS aesthetic is somebody, number one, who's motivating. Number one motivating factor is balance, symmetry, and aesthetics. And to be more specific, it would be like, what would be the embodiment of that? And would be a stage presentation type competitor, a bikini competitor, a bodybuilder, a physique competitor, those types of people, or people who train with those types of intentions. So that's number one. That's what MAPS aesthetic was created for. Number two, it was also created to be a little bit more advanced. And I don't mean advanced in the sense that it's better, advanced in the sense that people who are going to do, or the people we're creating MAPS aesthetic for, probably will have, or they should
used
have.
to higher volume.
Yeah, they have a background, they have a longer background in working out consistently with more intensity and more volume. So those being said, MAPS aesthetic works perfectly for those types of people. Now, not all of them. I mean, again, if you're going into this and you're fucking not sleeping well, you've been working out, redlining for a long time, you've been at this calorie deficit for a long time, like, you're probably better off backing the fuck off, going to MAPS anabolic and starting with a program like that and going into pre-phase, which in fact, when people ask us questions, what they should do, those types of people, that's what we say. Go start with MAPS anabolic. So each one of the programs has their own, specific types of adaptations that we're aiming for. And that means that they're going to be ideal for a lot of people and not ideal for other people. And for those other people, then they go do the other MAPS programs. That's why our MAPS super bundles, the RGB bundle and super bundle, are created because we know that now you've got like all these tools. Like, what you really want is really, if you want to maximize your body's progress and progression, and you want to make fitness a lifelong pursuit, you want to build muscle, get stronger, burn body fat, move better, just feel better, and consistently feel yourself progressing on many, many metrics over years and years and years, you want to have a tool belt that you can open and say, okay, what does my lifestyle look like now? What are my goals? How is my body moving right now? What are the things that I need right now? Okay, you wrote you now that you've identified those things, what have I been avoiding?
Right.
You've got all these things. Now you can go and open your tool belt and say, you know what? I'm going to do a cycle of MAPS performance. That's what I need to go through right now. Or I need to go through MAPS aesthetic, or MAPS anabolic is the one I need to go through, or MAPS anywhere. I haven't done any, of these, closed chain body weight type movements. I'm going to do MAPS anywhere. And if you approach your fitness intelligently like that, you are going to run into very few problems, and you're going to maximize the positives. And that's all working out, and it really is minimize the negatives, maximize the positives, mitigate the potential problems, and think about the potential problems that can come from exercise: joint pain, dysfunction, recruitment pattern issues, overtraining, undertraining, not getting results. Like, these are all the negatives. Well, you can really minimize those to a small degree and maximize all the positives by looking at your tool belt, assessing yourself, and picking the right run. So if you're doing MAPS aesthetic,
just look at like your avatar example. If you were to look at like these, almost like a video game, if you're looking at powers and you're looking at adaptations, like you're trying to fill each one of those bubbles, and you look and you see where you're deficient, right? So I look, I'm not very powerful, I'm not very strong, in this direction. And so you look at each one of these different adaptations, how can I fill those bubbles up? And that's what our programs, that's what we focused on. We tried to make sure that we present each one of these characteristics, each one of these adaptations that will benefit the body, and you will know inherently what you haven't been focused on, whether it's mobility or whether it's even aesthetics for somebody like me. Like, that's something I would, I have to constantly check myself. I need to get back into, more of that style training, because it definitely benefits me in muscle endurance wise and all that kind of stuff.
Actually, to the person who's asking the question, if you're doing MAPS aesthetic, you're in phase 3 and you feel run down, that is a very strong sign that it's too much. It's too much for you. Now there's a couple things you could do with this. You could either eliminate the supersets that are in MAPS aesthetic phase 3. And by the way, we put supersets in there because phase 3 of MAPS aesthetic is focused on maximizing the pump in your workout and working on a lot of strength endurance, both of which contribute quite a bit to an aesthetic physique when you combine it with the other phases. But if you feel run down, there's a few things you could do in phase 3. eliminate the supersets. So now treat them as straight sets, but keep the reps high. So you're still going to get some of the pump benefit. B, reduce the volume, so you're doing less sets, or combine A and B, eliminate the supersets and cut some of the sets down. Or C, if you're feeling really fucking run down, get out of MAPS aesthetic and go to MAPS anabolic. Start in pre-phase, do about 2 weeks of pre-phase, and then go into either phase 1 or phase 2, and then cycle back all the way back.
I think it's important, though, to note this, because I know who this is, and I know that she's not like a brand new lifter. So being able to tell the difference between run down and challenging is important, because I'll tell you right now, if you don't train with supersets ever and then you introduce those, it's going to be fucking hard. It's supposed to be. Just like when I go into MAPS performance, because I don't do a lot of multi-planar movements. So when I do like the
it doesn't take
lunge,
much weight.
the lunge matrix, I got to reduce the weight to like hardly anything, because it just destroys me. Now that's not because I'm like overtraining and that's a signal to my body saying I don't need to be doing this much. No, that means my body is not used to this adaptation at all. And don't worry, if I continue to progress through it, it will get used to that. Mm-hmm. So there's a difference too between, oh my God, this is way overtraining, and like, so you're looking for like this crazy fatigue, really sore. Like if you're overly sore the days afterwards, those are signs that you should try and reduce, like Sal's saying. But if it's just fucking hard to get through it, well, that's because maybe you've been training a lot more like MAPS anabolic phase 1. Mm-hmm. If you've done a lot of MAPS anabolic phase 1, so this would be like my power lifters, that are doing a lot of singles, triples, and maybe never ever going over 5 reps. Yeah, well, I throw them in a MAPS aesthetic, and I'm asking them to do 8 to 12. Yeah, 8 to 12 reps, and then I'm asking them to superset it, and they're fucking just they're tired as fuck. Yeah, that doesn't mean that it's bad for you. That means that you're just not conditioned for that. Your body's trying to adapt. There's actually probably a lot of good things that's happening in your body, but learning to listen to those signals of what Sal was talking about is important.
And let's real quick, let's define run down, or at least try and explain what we mean by run down. Okay, in the workout itself, if it's hard and you're getting challenged, there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, we don't want people to push themselves to failure and beyond frequently. That's usually not a good idea for most people. But the workout being challenging is fine. Run down means you're done with your workout, okay? It's the day after, or it's a little later in the day, or it's before that, and you're just fucking dead. You're tired, you're dragging ass, you're super sore, you need more coffee than normal, you're having issues sleeping. Like, that's run down. That's what we mean by, like, okay, take a big step back, because your body's just not able to keep up with or recover from the intensity of the workout. You should feel energized throughout the day, regardless of what your workouts look like. So even like Justin, for example, came in the other day and did just an intense ass, hit type workout where in between sets he was literally on the floor gasping for air. Yeah. But after he caught his breath and the workout was over, 30 minutes later, like, he's fine.
Bouncing around.
Yeah, he's not like, oh my God, what's wrong, Justin? Why are you on the couch laying down? Like, oh, I had a crazy hard workout 3 hours ago. Like, that's run down.
I'm not puking. None of that shit.
Yeah, you don't want to be like that.
No.
Next up is UDS Cam. What's your take on fat grips for strengthening grip? Is that a real thing or a gimmick?
Once you understand how muscles get stronger, then you can see, here's the cool thing. Once you get it, I'm going to break it down for you. Hopefully this will help. But once you get it, when you look at all these different techniques, the next technique is the next, new thing is going to come out. The next new thing is going to come out, and you're going to be able to see it exactly for what it is and what it will work for and what it won't work for. So it doesn't matter if it's fat grips or someone comes out with this new band technique or chains or use this, grip here or do this lift this way. It doesn't matter. It's all going to make sense to you because you'll understand how muscles get stronger. So just remember this fact right here. The strength that you gain in your muscles is relatively specific to how you train them. So let me explain what that means. If I take my hand and I grip it to the point where, let's say I'm grabbing something that's very, very wide and fat. So my hand is not making a full fist, right? It's like a partial fist, like I'm grabbing a really wide, thick
grabbing
bar.
It's like a coffee can.
Or a coffee can. Yeah. And I'm gripping that, and now I'm using isometric strength to hold on to that with heavy, heavy weight. The strength in my grip most of the strength I'm going to gain from that is
in that position.
Is going to be in that position, number one. And number two, it's going to be mostly isometric. Meaning I'm going to have some carryover to closing and opening my hand strength, but most of it's going to be in that particular thickness of grip and for static hold. Bottom line. So do fat grips strengthen your grip? Yes. They strengthen your grip in a new static hold position than with a smaller grip like your normal bar. That's what they do. Is there going to be some carryover to grabbing a regular bar? Yes, because you're getting stronger overall. Is it going to be tons of carryover? No. Most of it's going to be in that new fat grip type of thing. So if you're trying to get stronger grips, the thing I like about fat grips is you don't have to like focus on training your grip. You can just throw them on the bars and challenge your grip and do your normal workout, and now you're getting more of a grip workout.
There's a lot of similarity between ranges of motion as well. Like, like I just achieved a new range of motion, and it's in this specific spot like that I'm targeting when I'm doing these isometric specific exercises and poses. And so, and that carries over because now if I'm really isolating this one part of the movement and I'm getting stronger and stronger in this, that it wasn't strong before, now when I'm going through that range of motion where I already had strength but was weak there, now that becomes a complete movement. So as far as, the fat grip is concerned, it brings more strength in that wide part of the hand grip. So now I'm closing. I still had that strength. It's like it's expanding upon, what you already had. So
yeah, I think it's a fun thing you can throw in there, especially if you're somebody that wants to, especially if you're an arm wrestler or a strongman competitor, or you just have a thing for strong grips. I do. I love training my grip. Throw it on the bar, take yourself through a workout.
Variation is good too.
Yeah, it's going to give you some variation, but I'll give you an example of what I mean by specific, how specific your strength adaptations will be. For years, I did pull-ups with an overhand grip, so my hands were pronated. That's just the way I preferred to do it, and I also did lots of reverse curls and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, I just enjoyed that position, and I got much stronger with pull-ups in a pronated position, to the point where if you threw weight around my waist, I would be able to lift more pulling myself up with a pronated grip than I can with a supinated grip. Now, every sports physiologist and scientist out there will tell you that it's mechanically more advantageous to have a supinated grip. And that may be the case, all things being equal, but they weren't all equal because I trained pronated. So however you train is how most of that strength
you're gonna get strong.
Is going to be applied.
Yeah,
so
it always just comes down to that.
It just comes down
frequency and volume.
And now knowing that, take that knowledge and look at all the exercises that you can do and all the different techniques and variations you can do on all those exercises. Now you can see how you can change. You could do the same exercise, change the tension on it a little bit. Looks the same, different stimulus, different adaptation.
Yeah, grab the bar wider. That's a whole nother recruitment process.
And it can even be less obvious than that. It can literally be like I'm doing a bench press and I'm going to squeeze the bar with my hands harder, or I'm going to pull my hands in together on the bar or push them apart on the bar. Like small thing like that will give you different, stimulation. So,
I like them overall. The reason why I like them is because they're a cheap, easy tool. It's something you could throw in your bag. It's small, I think adding it to your arsenal is awesome, but I think it's silly when I see guys that are attaching it to all their exercises.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do it for too long anyway, right?
Yeah. It's because too you're not going to be using them on everything that you do. You're rarely ever in that grip position. But I mean, I think I typically do like the axle bar, like I rotate it into my lifts all the time, which is the
fat bar.
Yeah, the fat bar. A lot of like your Golds, American Barbell, your gyms like that tend to have, those a series or a set of different bars that are just a thicker grip. And just doing all my regular movements, my deadlifts, my overhead pressing, my bench press, doing those with those bars every now and then, kind of give that to me. That, or just, I feel like when you are deadlifting heavy weight and it just kind of naturally progresses with it. I think a lot of guys that have a hard time with grip strength are normally the guys that were using a lot of straps most of the time, and then now they're trying to go strap free, and it's like, well, you just haven't given your grip some time to catch up. You were deadlifting, progressing your weight using straps for so long that now when you're trying to go back and do that, well, you should just know that you're not going to go from, if you were a deadlifter for 400 pounds with straps and you've never been strapless before, and now all of a sudden you get in there and you're at 200 pounds and you can't even hold the bar. Well, that's because you hadn't trained that adaptation. Like, stick with the deadlift barehanded for long enough, and watch what'll happen.
This reminds me, when I was younger, I would go to work with my dad a lot. My dad worked in like construction type jobs. He's a tile setter. Did stonework, and I would go as a kid. And then when I got a little older, I didn't go for a while, and then I got into working out. So I started lifting weights. And one summer, I was probably 16 years old. So I had been lifting weights for a little while at this point. And I considered myself, I was pretty strong. I was a strong 16-year-old, especially in my ability to do, like a deadlift and stuff like that. But back then I used straps. I used straps quite a bit back then. And I'll never forget going to work for my dad and working with my dad, and then he would have his helpers who were these like kind of skinny older guys who I was like, oh, I'm definitely, if I arm wrestled them and worked out with them, I was much stronger. And by the middle of the day, my hands were fucking fried. And these guys were carrying buckets of cement and sand, and they were mixing cement and handling hammers and handling tools with their hand, and throwing mud up on the wall with these these little trowels or whatever. And my hands were fucking fried. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I work out all the time. I'm so strong. I've got more muscle than these guys. I can't believe how weak my hands are. And it didn't hit me back then. It hit me much later as I became an adult. But thinking back to that, like, I don't think people realize just how strong your grip can get, like how much potential is in your hands. I mean, we did, after all, evolve from, monkeys, basically. So our hands are designed or evolved to be pretty fucking strong, especially isometrically. So, using things like straps and like stuff like that, you're really hindering this incredible ability that you have with your hands. And let me tell you, having a really strong grip comes in handy a lot. In fact, for everyday life, it's probably one of the more important things to have, aside from having like a strong core and good tension throughout your body. Having a strong grip makes a tremendous difference in your ability to do everyday tasks, moving couches and shit like that. So definitely. I'm not
your first contact, to anything. So yeah, why wouldn't you? And that's what's so interesting. I remember thinking back to when we would train as a group for football or basketball or whatever. If we do group training, we were always taught to use these wrist straps, and so I didn't really develop and grow that grip strength like I could have while I was getting all these gains from moving a lot of weight, as I was growing up. So that's something I had to catch up on, which was a misstep.
You ever throw a hammer around for a whole day?
Throw a hammer?
Go work on something.
Yeah.
How fucking destroyed your hands?
Killed me, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I used to actually do a lot of lumberjack shit where all I was doing was chopping wood for like the whole neighborhood for like the entire summer. And dude, my hands would get so fried.
That explains all the flannels.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I'm excited about? End of the month, bro.
Oh.
End of the month. We've got Wim Hof coming into town.
The Wim Hof certification course coming here.
You ready to get cold as fuck or what?
And superhuman.
If you don't know what Wim Hof is, first of all, it's the last name of a guy who, or it's the name of a guy who has developed this breathing technique that has gotten him to be able to control the automatic parts of his body, like controlling his body temperature.
And affect the immune system.
Affecting the immune system. Like, it's pretty fucking amazing. Lots of science supporting it. We have a certification coming here at Mind Pump Media. This one I'm most excited about because we've had a chance to talk to some top athletes and biohackers and whatever. Every single one of them says Wim Hof. Like, they bring up all these different things that they do, and they're like, Wim Hof is the shit. Like, you gotta. So I'm excited for this one. To sign up, you go to mindpumpmedia.com and go under the events calendar, and then you can enroll yourself.
It's April 29th and the 30th, so it's a Saturday and Sunday, end of the month. It definitely will probably fill up pretty fast, so if you guys haven't got on there and signed up, get to the website, mindpumpmedia.com, and then check it out.
Next up is Callum Pankhurst. Have you ever trained someone that suddenly loses motivation for training? How do you counter this and get them back into fitness?
All the time.
Yeah.
It's probably more common that than you probably have somebody who just like executes like and is motivated, right? I mean, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I did have this happen less and less as I got better as a trainer. So back in the day, I remember thinking, it's just, I would put it on the person, like, oh, they're losing motivation. It's a character flaw. They're lazy. This is just what happens. I'm just going to get another client to fill in that spot. And then as I became a little bit more, I at least gained the ability to kind of say, okay, what am I doing to this? Maybe I'm contributing to some of this. I realized that there was a couple things I was doing that would contribute to people losing motivation. One of them was the over application of intensity in my workouts. Like, people come in and say, I want to lose, 30 pounds. I want to get in shape. So I train them really fucking hard. And I throw everything but the kitchen sink at them in terms of exercise and nutrition. And they would be super motivated. They would come into every workout and they would tell me how much they loved it.
But the inevitable fizzle out.
The inevitably would fizzle out either because they're fatigued, tired, or that's a level of intensity that just requires sheer will. And unless you absolutely love exercise, you're probably going to lose that battle. And they would end up stopping at some point. So that was one mistake that I had. The second mistake was that I would kind of make people feel bad for stopping their workout. So I would allow them to judge themselves
so
for
you
it.
feed into the guilt of it.
Yeah, and that's a losing. That's not really a winning battle because eventually I remember thinking to myself a while ago, like I had this one client who would train me 3 days a week, consistently 3 days a week. And after about 6 months, then she kind of lost motivation. She went down to 2 days a week, and then she wanted to go down to 1 day a week. And my response, this was early in my career, my response to her was, well, it's not worth it. If you're only going to come once a week, don't come to the gym anymore. Like, just that's ridiculous. You can't get motivated to come to the gym. I would tell
Go
her,
home and eat Cheetos.
Yeah, and I tell her all these things like, look, you have time after work or before work, and my schedule's open for you. And but if you don't want to make the time, then just wait till you're ready. And I was just kind of putting it on them, thinking that would motivate them, and of course, it didn't. And then one of my friends, who's really really good coach, told me and said, well, how did that work out for you? And I'd be like, well, they never came back. And I said, okay, well, maybe if you kind of consider that 1 day a week with you is better than no days a week. So you really haven't helped them. And I remember thinking like, oh fuck,
that's interesting. Yeah,
you're right.
It totally does. Like if you start to pull back and reflect on like how you're coaching them, like you could see how, because I noticed that too. If I'm a little bit more hard, as far as like, oh, you're not hitting these marks and all these things. I'm trying to explain a lot of like of the missteps and not really focusing on how we can reframe this so it's like it's more of an inviting environment where they're there to thrive. They're already there to improve themselves. Why am I hammering them for all these missteps and why am I not highlighting like and taking a different angle and showing them where they are hitting marks? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I had to assess the same thing where it was either intensity or I just felt like maybe it was something that happened to them. It was a life moment, maybe they're having some kind of crisis that I didn't even know about, but I was just too focused on like getting their goal and getting them in shape. And you have to be a little bit more empathetic, and you have to understand the psychology a little bit more in depth to really reach a lot of these people that are struggling through other things in life, not just fitness.
Well, give them options and think about it this way. When it got to the point when my clients called me and wanted to come in because they were stressed, because they were tired, because they hurt, had a backache or didn't sleep well last night, Sal, you mind if I come in, and see you an extra day? Like once that started happening, people became extremely consistent. They didn't stop. Nearly my drop-off rate was reduced dramatically. I mean, you got to give people options. Like if I have a client that's just, stops coming in, and I'll have a conversation with, say, look, it looks like we've missed about 3 workouts. Are you super busy? Are you stressed out? If that's the case, here's what I want to do. I want you to come in, and we're not going to lift weights. What we're going to do is we're going to do some stretches. I'm going to do some myofascial release with you. We're going to do a hike. And I want to help you feel better. And then all of a sudden people are like, wow, that sounds like a great idea. Like I think I want to do this.
Yeah.
And you just give them more options, and the consistency went through the roof. But you still never, I mean, there's still going to be people who are going to stop, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
I'll tell you that the number one mistake that I used to make and the biggest game changer for me was laying out the expectations. I think that with all the social media, with all the marketing and advertising and all the shit that's out there, that most people, when they hire you, their expectations are extremely out of whack. Like, they're so far out because you see all these 30 days get shredded. And, oh, my girlfriend lost 40 pounds by taking this pill. And, oh, this person did this. And so then they come in, they hire a trainer, and in their head they're going, well, I'm going to go get a professional to help me, so I should be able to get those results or even potentially faster. And so I think the mistake that I made as a trainer was they would hire me, and then I would just go about my training, and then I would just assume that they would piece that together instead of learning how to lay it out for them. So I have this big old long spiel that I do when somebody hires me, and I'm setting the tone for, like, we're barely going to see the scale move. This is what we're going to be working on. This is how you're going to feel. This is what you need to understand. So when I set the tone like that, then when they get into their, because what happens, the reason why people fall off and they lose motivation is because, let's be honest, it's just like going to work. If you went to work every single day and you went for 2 weeks and you opened up your paycheck, and in your head you had a salary or you made $50 an hour, and you get your paycheck after working 2 full weeks and you get $10, how fucking pissed are you? And how long do you keep going to that job? But if your boss told you that, hey, guess what? You're not going to make any money working for me right now because we need to put all this work in first, and then you actually received a little bit of money at that pay period after 2 weeks, how pumped are you? So when you set the expectations really low for what they should expect, and then you over deliver as a trainer, it's a lot easier to keep them motivated through the entire program. And a lot of people just don't understand that when you first hire on, you first get me as a trainer, that there's a lot of things that we have to work on and fix before we actually get to the goal, right? The goal is like the pretty part of the house. That's the shutters, that's the 4 bedrooms, that's the granite countertops, but we have to lay a foundation first. And so just like if I were to build a house for you and you came to me and you say, hey, I want to move in next week, and we're like looking at a pile of dirt, I'm going to look at you and be like, that's fucking crazy. And anyone that tells you otherwise is going to build a shit house for you. So the same thing goes for your body, is when someone comes in, they hire me, and I say, listen, we've got this we got to work on, we got this we got to do, this is what we should expect. This first week, you're going to feel like this, you're going to think this is what's happening, this is what's really going on. That's okay. I want that. That's a good sign. In fact, if you I know you want to lose 30 pounds, but if I assess you after 2 weeks and we're down 5 and you're excited, I'm upset. That means we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing right now. I don't want to see that weight loss right away. So when you lay out these expectations and you kind of you draw them a picture of like, this is what the entire process is going to look like with me, and they understand that it's not what they see on TV. It's not all these gimmicky shit ads and social media things that they see in real life, in real health and fitness, and what it's going to be for longevity and how you're going to keep these results. We have to go through these steps, and it's going to look this way. Most people just have no clue, and so they lose motivation when they don't get what they think because what they've seen and what they've been marketed to.
Mind to muscle. What is one of your favorite fitness trends and one of the worst ones you've ever seen in your career?
This one's easy for me.
Oh, wow. Let's hear it.
I can tell you the worst. The worst fitness trend that I saw in my fitness career was when personal trainers went fucking ape shit with stability stuff. When they went nuts with stability stuff. Like, there's definitely a place for stability, unstable surfaces and stability type training. Definitely. But man, did trainers take that shit to the next level. Like, people were doing
juggling,
everything, dude. They were doing everything, like curls while standing on one foot on a dyna disc, and shoulder presses, balancing on a wobble board. But it was like, it wasn't something that they used strategically. It became the entire workout. Like, that's all it was. And it also became, in their minds, better than or a replacement for other workouts. I remember trainers saying, oh, squats on a wobble board, so much better than traditional barbell squats. Like, that's just do that. Don't do the barbell squats anymore. And I would scratch my head because, I knew that there's definitely a place for it, but you can't replace your good old-fashioned power-generating movements that are going to give you all this carryover.
Right.
So for me, that was just one thing that, and probably because right around that time is when I was really in the corporate gym world, so that's the trend that I saw just sweep. It was like out of nowhere, man. It was like all of a sudden everything became that, and it was just something that really got on my nerves.
Are we all going to go around and say the ones we don't like first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, all the ones we don't like. So I think the worst one that I've seen is the introduction of circuit training. When curves and express zone,
because that very rapidly turned into CrossFit.
I knew I was serving that one up for you. Yeah, this when we started talking about that, you could build and burn more, you could burn more fat, build more muscle in a shorter amount of time. Now it has become this. You see it all the time too. Like, it just pains me when I look over and I see this, guy or girl who's carrying 50 pounds overweight, and they're jumping rope, and then they're doing a bench press, and then they're doing some dumbbell rows, and then they're doing jump lunges, and I'm just like, oh my God, dude, like, I want to die just watching that. And I just know where that's heading for that person. Like, I could see it on their face while they're training. They're so determined, they're so pushed. And that's like going to get them to like 15, 20 pounds off, and then they're not going to know where the fuck to go from there. Yeah. And it's like an epidemic in the industry. It's just and Justin's right, it's turned into a sport. It's gotten so crazy, which is fine. That's where it belongs. It belongs as a sport. It doesn't belong as a way of training. It does not belong as a way of getting in shape or helping somebody that like really needs that. Since majority, we know over 80% of the clients that I've ever trained are my middle-aged soccer mom who needs to lose 30 to 40 pounds, has all kinds of muscle imbalances and postural issues, or surgery that they've had. That is like the average client.
Yeah, and then you throw them in a circuit.
Yeah.
It's probably the worst thing you could do.
I know. Yeah. So to me, that was the worst thing that ever hit the fitness industry. And it's not to say that you can't do a circuit training or it doesn't have its place. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying for the majority of people, and then how many people we see doing it, just like a majority of people that I see doing CrossFit that don't belong in CrossFit because they're not ready for that type of training.
Now I'm going to take this onto the other end of the spectrum. We're going to talk about vanity. Okay, so my issue too, what I see,
bring it, Justin,
being a fucking huge problem is preaching all these this. Basically, you're talking about people that have massive insecurities, and we're supposed to look like certain people. So what we glorify these models and these people that do by any means necessary to achieve a specific look. And so, that has nothing to do with being healthy and fit and optimal and moving and being efficient and working with your body. So I'm looking at things as a picture and a portrait, and this is a glorification of a body type that might not even be my body type. But people will just fucking kill themselves to look a certain way. And, so you'll see these exogenous steroids and all these different any means necessary. We're going to get to this level, and we're going to look. And it's an obsession, and it's the wrong message. And so you get from both sides, it's the hammering, like Adam's saying, as far as the intensity goes, is way extreme. Well, and then the vanity is way extreme. And it's these poor girls. Now it's even worse because it's not even fitness related. It's just people getting surgery and getting massive asses out of nowhere, just to get like millions of people to look at their ass.
Well, to piggyback off of that shit is what is same culture are the same ones responsible too, which I could have went this direction, is all the sideways chest press and the fucking bands on machines and all these like crazy things that you see these people that are being glorified are putting in their routine, either because they're trying to sell something or whatever it may be, or maybe that person actually has a reason why they're trying to work on this tiny little muscle responsible for a tiny little bit of a movement because they're about to get on stage and present their body. But now I've got all these 17 to 20-year-old kids that are doing all these ridiculous movements on machines that have no business doing that because they're nowhere near that level of training to where they need to be focusing on a tiny little muscle that isolates a tiny little movement on your body. They should be doing those big, gross motor movements like deadlifting, squatting, overhead pressing. So that same culture is feeding into that too, which is annoying as fuck.
You know what sucks is, it kind of sucks. It's kind of cool. In the past, when I would look at a bodybuilder, a physique competitor, a bikini contest, competitor, whatever, and I'd see them on contest day, for example, when they're their most depleted and shredded and all that stuff, I used to look at that and be like, oh shit, that looks awesome. Like, I would really like to look like that. Looks so fucking sick, right? They're so now it's very difficult for me because now all I see is, I hate to say it, is disease and dysfunction. And no knock at anybody who competes. I think it's in order to compete and get on stage, your knowledge of your body and how to manipulate every small detail is incredible. And I think that's pretty cool to know that kind of stuff. But when I look at their bodies and and their skin and how they care, and anybody who competes will tell you they feel like shit on competition day. There isn't a single competitor that's going to tell you, oh, I'm my most fit and healthy the day of my competition. They'll all tell you that's their absolute worst health. And I look at them, I just see disease and dysfunction now. That's all I see now. I can tell. I can pick the things out. And it sucks because I almost can't enjoy it like I used to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we've been to contests where I've seen these bikini girls like backstage sitting down in the hallway. Like, they look like they're about to fucking die and they're eating like a rice cake or something, or some sugar to try and, they think they're just going to pull out their muscles a little more or whatever. And I'm looking at them going, oh my God, that's horrible. Like, that's really, really bad.
Well, I think that part of it inspires me, that there's because I know there's a lot I can do to help those people. I feel like there is a way to compete and get to that level without it being so unhealthy. I mean, and I used to talk about it when I used to vlog my, journey to getting ready for stage, that, hey, the whole process leading up to getting on the stage is very healthy and totally fine. And when I'd hit about 10 to 14 days out, you'd hear me transition in my vlog saying, okay, this is the part where now we are entering a sport. It is not ideal for my body, but I'm going to push my body to another level to get a look that the judges are looking for on stage. But talking to the audience and saying, listen, the methods, the things that I'm going to take my body through these final 10 days or so is not ideal. It's not ideal at all whatsoever for overall health. And, and I think there's ways that if you do it right, you could argue that for that short period of time, it could be healthy if done correctly. The problem is, 95% plus of them are not. They're hiring coaches that are coaching 30, other athletes that are all getting similar diets and similar workout routines and similar cardio recommendations, and it's a fucking disaster, and it's getting worse.
I had somebody contact me about her nutrition. She was wondering why she wasn't having her period. She felt horrible. She's having skinny, like basically just a list of things wrong with her, young girl. And I said, well, what does your nutrition look like? She's like, well, this is what I was eating for the last 6 weeks, and it was frightening. It was like 10 to 15 grams of fat a day and like around 50 grams of carbs, and it was all protein. And I told her immediately, I'm like, listen, you need to eat some carbs and some fats and go to the doctor and get tested and get checked, because that was extremely damaging. What you just did, you just put your body through, is very, very damaging. You've got no essential fatty acids or very little. Your body isn't running off of carbs either because they're so low. So all you're doing is running off protein, and you need to go make sure everything's in balance and then start bumping those things up. So it is a crazy world. But Adam, the way you position it is, it's beautiful, right? It is a sport. Like all sports, there's an unhealthy component to it. Understanding that, I think, is real important. As far as favorite fitness trend,
yeah, let's talk about positive stuff.
I'll tell you what, one of my favorite fitness trends is, and I think the pendulum went real far in one direction with this, but now it's kind of balanced out, is the functional patterns.
I was going to say the same thing right now.
Yeah, I really like it. Now, when it first started, the pendulum went too far in that direction. It became like mimicking everything you do in everyday life with weights, and so, which I think is wrong, because I think that there are movements you do specific to weights that have tremendous carryover to the rest of your life. Like most of everyday life, you're not going to squat with something on your traps like a barbell will, right? But barbell squats are fucking amazing, and they give you lots of carryover. But now that the pendulum's kind of come in the middle, I love like how people are adding to their routines, kettlebell training, mace bell training, club stuff, training, body weight movements on the floor that mimic animal, type patterning. People are now working on strengthening their feet. You saw that trend start to come up a little bit. Like, I love that kind of stuff because it's helping people progress their fitness to newer and newer levels, and it's giving people more and more tools. So
I'm going to go with you with the whole mobility movement, but I'm also going to caution those at the same time because like every other trend that I've liked that you've seen in the fitness industry, we can't help but put people in
tribal too.
It's tribal. It's beyond tribal. In fact, I guarantee most of you that have a mobility specialist guy that you follow, look at his page. I mean, I guarantee that's all he does. And here's the thing, like everything else, and that I'm going to go with that one because I'm with you, Sal, on that. Like, I 100% believe
stay positive.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the most beneficial things that people can be incorporating. It's probably got some of the most carryovers for just overall healthy movement patterns, and everybody needs it in their life. And if you don't care about building a lot of muscle and strength, and you're just so heavily focused on movement, that's what you should be primarily focused on. That being said, you start to get these camps and these guys that now all of a sudden will hate on everything else, and it's all about movement, and then you take it to these crazy animal flow patterns, and that's all they do. So, even though I'm going to say it's my favorite, I also caution you that, don't let yourself fall into the dogma of it's the way, and it's the only way. It's like it's another tool in your belt. And it's probably one of the best tools that I have found in the last probably 10, 15 years. So I'm going to go with that being my favorite. But again, I caution people because it's very hot and trendy right now, and it's on its rise. And you sure as shit will probably see it go all the way.
Well, since you guys went in that direction, I'm going to kind of bring it more on the nutrition side. Like, what I'm really excited about is the adoption of things like functional medicine, like holistic health, like these kinds of practices that have...
Or paleo diets, ketogenic diets, all natural.
They focused more on the quality of food and then how it's going to actually affect your body and your systems and your metabolism and, how your gut health and, how all these things interact with each other. It's not just about... how many calories have you consumed today? What's your macro balance? Like, that shit is fucking, elementary. And we need to move past that way of thinking with the fitness community. And we need to think further out. We need to think how this is going to affect our health, well-being, how this is all going to play out to, because if you think about eating, it's a chronic, repetitive process. So this is always happening. I'm always consuming, every day. That's going to affect you, and that's going to affect the quality of your life later on. And so I feel like, we're just now starting to think a little further ahead and not just think about, look at my fucking abs, look at this PR I just did. Like, that shit is done. That's dead to me.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I did a post, an Instagram post, I think it was
on
yesterday.
Brain health.
Yeah, because everybody connects food to how they look, like, so aesthetics, right? How lean I am, how maybe strength and performance, but they don't connect it to wellness in the total body, and they especially don't connect it to their mind. And when I speak of the mind, I'm speaking separately from the brain. The brain is an organ, so I can take a brain out and I can take a brain from a corpse and place it on the table, and you have a brain, but there's no mind there, right? The person's not alive. There's no consciousness. There's no psychological phenomena. That's the mind. And we forget, and I want to do a whole episode actually on this, is I want to talk about how having a healthy brain affects your mind. And a lot of people don't realize this, but everybody knows we're in an obesity epidemic. Everybody knows we're in a diabetes epidemic and a heart disease epidemic. Nobody talks about the mental health epidemic, or I call the epidemic of the mind. Like, I just read this statistic the other day, but anxiety, documented anxiety, where people will go to the doctor and complain about having actual anxiety, in 1980 was something like 4% of the population. It's over half now. Now, some people can say, well, we're reporting more of it now. And I agree, we probably are reporting more of it now. But that's a cop-out, and that's a fucking stupid cop-out that Western medicine loves to do whenever they see a trend of bad health. They say, oh, it's because we're noticing more of it now. Yeah, 50% of the population? No, I'm sorry. When depression is going through the roof, anxiety is going through the roof, all these mental health issues are going through the roof, and it's mirroring our obesity and processed food consumption and all this other shit, you got to look at that and say they're all tied together. So can you get lean and look aesthetic just following macros and calories? Yes. Are you going to be good and well? No. And so look at that. Look at those things and pay attention. They definitely make a huge impact.
Love that.
Listen, 30 days of coaching. It's available for free still at mindpumpmedia.com. All you got to do is opt in. Every day you'll get an email with new information and links to episodes where we talk in depth about particular topics. It's super popular. We're getting hundreds of these every single day. So go check it out. It's still free. Also, check us out on Instagram. Look, if you want to ask us a question that we can answer on these episodes, then you go to Mind Pump Radio on Instagram. If you go on our personal pages, every once in a while, you may actually catch a promo or a giveaway. Sometimes we give away shirts. Sometimes we give out good information. Sometimes we just make fun of each other. That's the best part.
Yeah.
My personal page is Mind Pump Sal. Adam is at Mind Pump Adam. And Justin is at Mind Pump Justin.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.